Greetings, brothers and sisters. In the last episode, World War III, as we speak, it was war against Alma. In Aramaic, Alma has two meanings, has physical world and the world of humanity. In Hebrew, Alma means young virgin. In Spanish, Alma means soul. So the last episode I went through World War III, as we speak, on young soul of humanity. This episode, it's going to be against World War III, against our inheritance. There's inheritance, it's about to be lost. There's a truth of our inheritance that it's about to be lost. I have the blueprint of our inheritance, that the world is trying to cover it up, is trying not to show you, to tell you what your inheritance is the greatest blessing of all time. The evil world is trying to hide it from you. There's a war against it, just to put a dust on it so you won't even know what your inheritance is. So I have the blueprint, and I am going to present it of ultimate inheritance that we have. And I'm going to dive into it right now. Before one thing, I'm going to mention greatest I am that Christ the Lord spoke. Most of us, I think, we never seen it, we never understood it, or we never paid attention. But I'm going to mention it at the end of this episode. So stay tuned. The greatest I am of all time, I'm going to mention at the end of this episode. I'm not going to mention it early. But now let's dive into blueprint of our ultimate blessing of all time, our inheritance. Imagine all of a sudden you get a phone call. Imagine you got a letter. You open it up. You read it. You have a letter from attorney or somebody friend that send you a letter, says you have inheritance. You have few things they want to discuss it with you. And come and claim it. Are you such and such? Yes. A phone call. I'm attorney this, that. I just have somebody passed away and there's inheritance left for you. Come and claim it. What you gonna do? What I'm gonna do? Your life, it's gonna come to stop. You're gonna start thinking. You're gonna drop everything. If you can, right that moment, you're gonna take the plane and you're gonna fly to this attorney, to the place. Or you're gonna jump in your car. If you have a chariot, you're going to take your chariot to go there, or a donkey or a horse. You're going to run to your inheritance. You're going to double check. You're going to go. You're going to sit. You're going to give all time that you have. You might quit your job just to focus on your inheritance. You might have a building, how many floors it is, how many cars, how many jewelry. You're going to take the jewelry. You're going to start spend hours looking at it. I'm a jeweler, and many people come in. They go nuts. They come in with pile of jewelry. They want to know if there's anything valuable. They don't know, but they want to know. They're spending the time and the money to know what their inheritance are. So they do. So you're going to do the same. I'm going to do the same. So once you know you have an inheritance, you're going to dig into it. Why don't we do it, the inheritance that the Lord provided? We have a greatest inheritance, greatest blessing of all time. In our fingertips, we can click on a button, we're going to know what inheritance are. So I take it seriously. When I want to present somebody's inheritance, let's say I'm an attorney, and I want to present what this person has. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go in every single detail. I want to make sure I present it perfectly, so the person will know exactly what they have. That's my job. So in order for me to make sure you receive you get the right information, I have to dig in. I have to make sure. How do I do that? I have a Bible. I just have to study it in it. I do. I have an English Bible. I have Armenian Bible. You name it. I have all kinds of Bibles. But how I'll make sure I'll deliver the right message. If I'm chosen to be a teacher, to teach, I'll make sure I do my lesson first. I study first before I teach. So I ignored most of the Bibles that I have in front of me. I went to the original language. I promised I'm going to go to the beginnings, beginning of time, beginning of language, beginning of the word. So I went in the beginning, I went to the Hebrew language especially. I went to Aramaic also, which is one of the early languages that the Lord spoke. But each part I do is job. To go to beginning of the language, to go to Hebrew interliner, word by word translation. Word by word translation. In a click, it's free. There's a softwares today. You can put the word in and it will translate it for you. Yes, we do have Bibles, English Bibles. I have nothing against any Bibles. But there's certain translations. There's most of the translations rely on the King James. I use King James. I love it. But certain things, when it came to my inheritance, when it came to somebody else's inheritance, I had to put it aside. So I went to the translation, line by line translation of the Hebrew Bible. So that's what I did. Before I present you the blueprint, I'm telling you what did I do, how far I went, so I can put this episode, so I can present you the blueprint of your inheritance. So that's what I did, because, okay, just a second. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read word by word translation. I'm going to go to the beginning, to Genesis. To know what we have is what we lost, is to know what we had. So what we had that we lost after the fall, then is where I go and I dig in the beginning. That's what I did. Now, I'm going to read in English, but the words, since I translated it directly from the Hebrew words, the English has run-on sentences. The words there before and after. So there's a period of time I'm going to go and I'm going to read the English and that, so it become clear. But let me read it. We're going to go into details. Spend some time with me. It's okay. Maybe a few more minutes. We're going to go into the details. But that details is important. When you have inheritance, you are going to make sure about details. You want to check every piece of jewelry that you got. You want to know everything about it. So you're going to do that. We're going to do the same. And bear with me. There's ultimate blessing of all time in your inheritance. It's free. It's online. It's in a click of a button. You can get whatever you need. Now, I'm going to go to Genesis 1. I'm going to read. I'm going to make a few notes. I'm going to write them down. And then I'm going to put them together a little bit. So bear with me. In beginning, He created, God, Elohim, the heavens, Shamayim, and the earth. And earth, she was formless and emptiness, and darkness over face of the deep. The Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters, Hamayim. And He said, God, let Him be light. And He was light. And He was light. And He saw, God, the light, that good. And He separated, God, between the light and the darkness. And He called God the light day, and the darkness He called night. And He was evening, and He was morning. One day, Yom Echad. So now here we have, first, there's Elohim. Let me write it down. Elohim. We have Shamayim. And then we have Yamim. Mayim. Sorry. We have Mayim. Now we have Im. We have Im. We have Im. Now, in English, Im means it's plural. In English, if we have a plural word, usually it refers to two. If it's more than two, it will give you the number. 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 200. It will give, they have to give it, usually it will give you the number. If it doesn't give you the number, you have a plural word, it's two. In Hebrew, it's usually 3. If there's more than 3, usually you will have 4, 5, the number has to be there. So this is the basic concept. Elohim is God. Triune, Im. Shamayim, heavens, S. Triune, 3. Hamayim, waters, plural, 3. So there's 3 persons, 3 heavens, and 3 levels of waters. So this is extremely important concept. As I said, in Hebrew, when you have a plural word, what happens? It's referred to as 3. If it's more than that, usually they have to put the numbers. English the same way. English is 2. If there's more than 2, usually you got to put the numbers. So, but the most important part of it, I'm going to say, in English Bible, here in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. What the translation says, "Let him be light." And he was light. And then verse 5. And then verse 5, it says, "So the evening and the morning were first day." In a Hebrew translation, line by line, said, he was evening and he was morning. One day, Yom Ehad. There's a difference. Here is, instead of being there, let there be light, let him be light. He was evening and he was morning. He was so. There's a he involved in it. It's not just there. Now we go to the 6. Let's go to verse 6. And verse 6, it says, "Then God said, let there be firmament." It says, let him be firmament. Let him be expanse in the midst of the waters. And let him be separating between the waters. Mayim to Mayim. And he made God the expanse, and he separated between the waters. Hamayim. That from under the expanse and between the waters, which from over to expanse, and he was so. And he called God the expanse heaven. Not heavens, heaven. And he was evening and he was morning. Second day, Yom Shinin. So, again, we have he involved in it. Now, the first one, we have let him be light. So he is light. And he. Let's put the he here. Let him be expanse. Let he be the firmament. Expanse. He. Let's keep going. And I'm going to go to 8. Verse 8. And he said, God, Elohim, let them be gathered the waters, Hamayim, from under the heavens, Shamayim, into place one, and let her appear. Her. the dry ground, and he was so. The dry ground. He is the dry ground. And he called God the dry ground earth, and collection of the waters Hamayim he called seas, Karayim. And he saw God that good. And he said, God, let her produce the earth. Haaretz. Produce her. This is another episode about her. Her, it's not even here too. It says earth. She represents the earth. So her is out. She is out. Now we have earth. Okay, let her produce green vegetation yielding seeds, trees of fruit making, according to kind of him, which seed of him in him. It's totally different. When I'm going to go verse 12. I'm speaking from verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according of its kind. It's not its kind. It's him, seed of him in him, on the earth, and he was so. And he brought out the earth, which is green vegetables yielding seed, according to kind of him, and tree making fruit with seed of him in him, according to kind of him. I'm going to go to 14. I'm going into details. We have to go into the details. The same way you want to go to details of inheritance. And then I'm going to drop the ultimate blessing of all time at the end of this episode. So bear with me. Pay attention. It's okay. Number 14. I'm going to read from here and from here. Then God said, let there be light in the firmament. Let's read. Then God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament, for the heavens to give light on the earth. It was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and lesser light to rule the night. At the end, 19, so the evening and the morning were fourth day. Now, I'm going to read the way it's translated. Interliner. And he said, God, Elohim, let him be light, source, in expanse of heavens, to separate between the day and between the night. And let them be 4 signs, and 4 appointed times, and 4 days and 4 years. And let them be 2 light sources in expanse of the heavens, to give light upon the earth. And he was so. And he made, God, 2 of the light sources, the great for authority of the day, and the light source, the small one for authority of the night. And the stars, and the set them God in expanse of the heavens. And the end, he says, he was evening and he was morning, day 4, Yom Rebim. So he was the expanse, he is the seed, his kind, he's the kind, he is the authority. What else? He is the authority. He is the evening. Evening and morning. Let's put a moon here. And let's put a sun here. He is the evening and he is the morning. Great authority. He is the 4 signs. He is the 4 signs. He is the light. He is the expanse. He is the seed. He is the kind. He is the authority. He is the evening, he is the night. It's all about he. It's all his seed, his kind. It's all about he. It's not let there be. I cannot forgive translation like this. I respect the King James. I'm not saying. Even most of the translations. But I can't, when it comes to my inheritance, or if I'm going to teach an inheritance, if I'm going to be responsible on somebody receiving their inheritance to know what exactly they have, I can't forgive translation. The dynamics is there, the idea is there, but there's a key point. Us to understand our inheritance is not there. It's in the original text, the way it is. I am basically sharpening, what do you call it? What I'm doing, I'm sharpening our weapons to know our inheritance. It's a warfare. You are deceived not to know your inheritance. That's what I'm doing. I'm exposing, telling you your inheritance one-on-one. As an attorney, sitting one-on-one. Don't miss out. Keep going with me. Now, the war, yes, there's a war on inheritance in 3 different ways. There's a war against the light, there's a war against life, and there's a war against the truth. The war against light, I pretty much covered it, which is, we're going to see Genesis 1:1, the first 3 chapters, where when it says, let there be light, there was light. The translation, it says, let him be light, he was light, he was evening, and he was morning, day 1. He was evening, he was morning, day 2, Yom Shenin. He was evening and he was morning, day 3, Yom Sheloshim. He was evening and he was morning, Yom Rebim. That was the war on the light. So you don't know what's the light. You don't see the light. There's a war to put darkness, to put something else, like a little veil. You can't see beyond it. But that's a war. Him is the light. Him is the evening and morning. He is the expanse, the firmament. And he is the one separated between the levels of the water. Since we know that there's 3 levels of waters, he is the one in between all these levels. If he pulls out, if we get separated from him, the waters will become all one. The Lord separated them. Mayim, I am, means 3. Refer to 3. If it's more than that, as I said in the beginning, they're going to put the numbers. So, as I said, so he is the separation between the waters. He is the seed. It's his kind of him. In him. He is the source of light. He is the 4 signs. And he is the 4 appointed times. He is the great authority. He is the evening and he is the morning. He is all things. We're going to dive in more. So there's a war against the light, not to see the light. They have artificial light there, but that's not the truth. What translations I have here in this part of it, I disagree, and that is artificial. It's meant to be you not to see your inheritance. Who is the inheritance? At the end of this episode, I am going to tell you the greatest blessings of all time. But we're going step by step. It's hard to absorb the magnitude of inheritance that you and I had. Brothers and sisters, this is serious. Bear with me. Keep listening. And dig in. Let's dig in together. I'm just here to present you your inheritance. I have nothing against, I have nothing I'm asking for. All I want you to hear me. Hear me. So, there's a war against the light, which is, I pretty much covered. There's a war against life. There's a big time war against life. Life is the least thing was being respected, basically. It's so cheap now, the life, that when the latest news when the Supreme Court granted the states to decide to give them free one and make it illegal to kill babies, most of the churches were silent. Nothing. You don't hear about them, about celebrating life. Babies, human beings were being killed. Parts of these human beings were being taken. Some of the parts of humans were being put into the animals, in rats, to grow them. Experiments. Human parts in animals. Human blood in pigs to experiment them. There's a war on it. What kind of war it is? Since we're going to be God-man race, they want to have God-rat race. They want to have God-pig race. That's the war. That's the war against life. To alter God's image. To alter God's likeness. Since you and I, created in God's image and God's likeness, we're going to inherit the same characteristics as the Lord. They're trying to fight it, to kill as many as they can. Ezekiel, Zacharias, 2/3 of population they trying to eliminate. With the diseases, the war, with killing diseases. They don't have to have machine guns anymore. The last episode I covered that. They can have diseases all over the place. They can generate specific, how can I say, there can specific gene that attack specific kind of people. They're trying to make specific gene that eliminates specific type of people. Worse than that, I don't want to get into it more, but instead of having God-man race, they want to have a God-rat race, or get God-pig race, or whatever they're trying to do. This is abomination, and they're doing it. So it goes against our inheritance. So it's part of it. Jesus said, I'm bread of life. The beauty, when I go into beginning, when I study beginning in Hebrew and Aramaic, it's stunning how truth is. When it comes in translation, you lose the aroma, you lose the real word. You gotta go to original language. Christ spoke Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. He spoke Galilean Aramaic, so scripture is translated from Galilean Aramaic to Greek. So that's why, if it's our inheritance, if it's your inheritance I'm presenting, I go to the beginnings. I go to the beginning language and I translate from it. We are in a time, in a click of a button, we can get anything we have, and it's free. Okay, the next one is life. Jesus said, I'm bread of life. Look at the beauty. Bread. Ish. Ish. What it means. In Aramaic, ish means bread. Ish also means live. Now, ish means bread. Ish means live. Adam and Eve, before the fall, their names was Ish and Isha. Isha is for female, Ish for male. So, live. It's present continuous tense. There's no limit of life. God said, Ish, live. For her, Isha, live. There's no end to it. And it's bread. Jesus said, I'm the bread of life. He is the Ish. He is the Isha. God said to Noah, let him be your food. Let him be your animal's food. Now, this is another thing I added on the light. All the list that I mentioned, him. He is our food. He is our animal's food. He is our light. He's the firmament. He's everything. He's in trees. He's everything. So, Jesus said, I'm a bread of life. Ish and Isha. Usually Egyptians, Arabic, they mention the word Ish. And my sister, she did a research. And she found out that during the pharaohs, during the ancient Egyptians, they used to use that word. But some other areas, they don't use that word. They use other words like khubaz or other things. But ish, in specifically, pharaohs, Egyptians, they used it. And until today, ish means bread. But ish at the same time means life. Live, live, live. Get your inheritance and live. Okay, bread of life. Jesus is the bread of life. He is ish. He's the bread that we need, we eat, and he's the life that we can live with. Without him, we have no life. He's born in Bethlehem. Beit, house. Lahem, bread. House of bread. He's born in that. So there is a war against life. They don't respect the life. They don't respect the life. It's so cheap. Crimes. You name it. I don't have to tell you. You guys, everybody sees what's going on. How cheap is the life? Thousands and thousands of people, they can lose their life in no time with all the diseases and all the. Some states, 66% increase in death certificates at age 30 and 60. It's stunning how many people they can kill in no time. So the life is another war on it. The third time is on the truth. This is a bomber. I'm going to focus on it a little bit more, and then I'm going to close this. Now, against the truth. In Matthew 14, in last episode, I covered it some. In Matthew 14, we have somebody's walking on the water. I'm going to draw it. I drew a diagram. I had vertical and horizontal axles. I had vertical axles and horizontal axles. Vertical is letter Vav, which is iron nail. Letter Vav. And then horizontal axle is Mem, which means water. At the same time means chaos. And then I mentioned Christ walking on the water. I mentioned about vertical axle, relationship between God and men, and relationship between men and men. And I mentioned there was somebody was walking on the water, and the disciples were in the boat. Late night, storm, they're in the boat. Jesus sent them in the boat, and then there's a storm. Here, let me draw the boat, because this is important to know. Oh. They're in the boat, and it's nighttime, after midnight. They can't even see. There's no street lights. You can't have candles. It's storming, so there's no way you can see the light. Pretty much, even the moon. How are you going to see the moon? There's a storm there, clouds there. It's blocking everything. And then they see somebody's walking on the water. And imagine you are in a boat. Put yourself in a boat and see somebody walking on the water in the middle of a storm. It's really freaking. So they thought it's a ghost. So they were trying to figure what it is, and they saw it's a ghost. So when they trying to figure, this person has to identify himself. This person has to speak from the darkness, from the middle of the darkness. This person has to identify himself. And what did Christ says? He says, Yahuwah. Yahuwah. In English translation, it says, I am he. But he says it, he didn't speak in English. He said it in Aramaic. Galilean Aramaic. Yah means God. Hoa means he. Hea is for she. Hoa is for he. I mean, it's a luxury language that he and she, you can easily tell the difference. When he says Yahuwah, Yah, God, Hoa, he. Let's get it, Hoa, Yah. He is God. So he identified himself being Yahuwah, being God, in Aramaic language. That's another light I'm mentioning. So what happened to Peter? When he mentioned that, It's really, they want to know who this person is. Is he joking? Is a ghost is telling them, I'm Yahuwah? Is he serious? They have to investigate. So Peter said, if you are Yahuwah, if you are Son of God, command me also walk on the water. He want to make sure the person is walking, it's Yahuwah. He said, Jesus told him, Peter, come, walk. He started walking. And then he doubted. Did he just say he is Yahuwah? Am I really seeing Yahuwah walking on the water? He doubted. And he started sinking. And then he starts screaming and then he's saying, Christ, save me, save me, save me. And Christ took him by hand and took him up. This is the bomber. This is the key. When they entered into the boat, what did they do? The disciples worshipped Christ, our Lord. Disciples worshipped our Lord. Now, the person in Genesis 1, where here it says, in the beginning, he created God Elohim, the heavens, Shamayim, and the earth. And the earth, she was formless and emptiness, and the darkness over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters. And waters, S. And he said, God, let him be light. So the one that was walking on the water in Genesis 1, the one I just read, let him be light. The light was walking over the waters. The person, Christ, that claimed he is Yahuwah, he is God, he is the Lord, he is the one who was walking on the waters, he is the one, the light, and he was light. He was the evening and he was the morning. He is the day one and he is the day two. He is the firmament. He is the seed. He is the kind. He is the four signs. He is the authority. That person was that one walking. He wasn't a ghost. Imagine the magnitude of him walking on the water. And water in Hebrew means, mem means chaos, water. I went through the being bottom of the water, we got to be up on the water. We have to be in a relationship. The last episode I'm talking about. He is the only one, he can speak and separate the levels of the waters and the firmaments. He's the only one can do that. So this is a war against the truth. You not to know that did he claim he is God or not? Yes, he did. In Samaritan, he did. When they came to arrest him, they said, who do you look for, as Jesus told them when they came to arrest him. They said, we're looking for Son of God. He said, Yahuwah, I'm he. He said, I am he. He is God. And then they fell on the floor. When he said Yahuwah, they fell. Samaritan, the one standing in front of you, Yahuwah. He is he. How many times he mentioned it? So one of the truth that they fight you, the war is against his deity. Who is he? His deity, there's a war against it. The next one, it's more bomber. This is bigger than you can ever imagine. I'm going to go to Hebrews 1. How they fight the truth. You don't hear much about it. Hebrews 1. Bear with me. This is your inheritance. The same time that you spend to know what you have, you're going to get. If somebody passes. In this case, nobody passed. Is alive. The inheritance you are receiving while the person that is giving inheritance is alive. So it's a living inheritance. All you have to do is receive. Again, at the end of this episode, I am going to mention the greatest I am of all time, which is pretty much most of the churches, they even don't come close to it to see it. Okay, I'm going to read Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews starts that way. Chapter 1:1. God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son. So in the past, God spoke to us by prophets. Now he speaks by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things. He is the inheritance of all things. He inherit everything he inherit. That's the Son. All things, through whom also he made the worlds. Through whom he made the worlds. Here we read it. In the beginning, he, God, Elohim, plural, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the heavens and the earth, the three heavens and the single earth, because it's not that earth is not plural word, it's singular word. Earth, she was formless and emptiness and darkness over the face of the deep, and Spirit of God hovering over the waters. And he said, let him be light. He is light. So through him, I'll read the Hebrews again, which it says, he is the heir, this is the inheritance of all things, through whom also he made the worlds, who being the brightest of his glory. The word glory in Hebrew means character. Just keep that in your mind. Glory doesn't mean he's a macho person. No, character. When Moses said to the Lord, I want to see your glory. I want to see your character. His glory and the express image of his person, and uphold all things by the word of his power. So he is all things created by him and for him. And the angels worshiping him. And he's told the angels to worship him. Here's the bummer. I'm coming there. Now, let's go to 8. Hebrews 1:8. But to the Son, he says, the Lord, the Father. The Father, because Hebrews 1, I said, in the past, God spoke to us by prophets. Now he speaks through the Son. So, now he speaks to the Son. He says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated lawlessness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness more than your companion. Your throne, O God. The Father is calling the Son, your throne, O God. The Father is calling the Son, your throne, O God. And through the scripture, we know the Son is called the Father, O God, is forever. O throne, your God is forever or ever. And then, therefore, God, your God, has anointed you. How much more clear it gets who Christ is. He claimed he's Yahweh. He claimed he's God. The Father is calling the Son God. The Son is calling the Father my God. The Father is calling the Son my God. Did you get the magnitude? Did you get the idea? Because he inherited everything from the Father because he became man. He left. He left all his glory. He left all his character and became man, filthy. And he all his inheritance to come back to claim it so we can have it. So he is Elohim. He is Elohim. I am. Plural. 3. He created the Shamayim. I am. 3 heavens. First heaven, second heaven, third heaven. We know after the crucifixion, we've seen the third heaven. Stephen saw the third heaven, and Paul saw the third heaven. So I will get to it, but not now. Not now. Mayim. 3 levels of water. Everything is held by him. He is the one he separated between them. He's the one created. All things created by him and for him. I forgot which verse. I think in Galatians. All things created by him, for him. It's him. It's him. It's him. So there's a war against that truth. There's a war, so you will never know. It says here. It says, oh, let me read it. I gotta read this part. So sorry. For Lord, in the beginning, it says, you, Lord. This is number 10. Oh, I don't know how I missed this one. Hebrews 1, verse 10. You, Lord, in the beginning laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens, Shamayim, are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain, and they will all grow old like a garment. We do perish, and we put old garments, but he is going to last forever. Like a clock, you will fold them up, and they will be changed. But you are the same, and your years will not fail. So again, in 10, you, Lord, in the beginning laid the foundation of earth. Who laid the foundation of earth? You, Lord. O throne, your throne, O God. Oh my God, I can't keep going. And it's here. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? I'm going to read this again. Hebrews 1, the last verse, 14. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? So instead of fighting, have wars, we have to sharpen our swords of inheritance. This is message for the ministers. To be careful. People, they're going to inherit the salvation. There's inheritance in stake. You better be careful. You better wake up. I'm going to give an example. In most of my episodes, I've been giving examples of churches, different churches. Revelation 1 to 4. Jesus face to face with John. First he was raptured, harpazo, caught up, and then face to face Jesus gave the messages for each churches. First episode I covered Thyatira. The second episode I covered Laodicea. Third one I covered Smyrna, which is the last episode. This one I'm going to cover Sardis because it's related to this war. Church of Sardis, it's 340 BC, founded by Alexander the Great. They adopted god of Artemis. Artemis, she was god of fertility and also god of hunting. So one of the kings after years, I don't know the date exactly, there was a king, Crius. He was very, very wealthy, one of the wealthiest kings you can ever get. So he wanted to secure himself from these wars between Persians and especially with Persian invasions. So he builds this in Sardis. He picks an area where in the top of the hill, really big area, so he builds the city there so he can put all his wealth so nobody come and take it. So he thought he's secure. He thought everything is fine. Even the way he built it up, the first time when Cyrus came, he could not even come close to it. He could not. It was almost impossible. So it was most of the empires or the kings that came to take him, they could not. They failed. But he thought he is secure. Jesus' words to John, to Church of Sardis, he said, excuse me, he said, you thought you were secure, but you're not. You're not safe. So what happened to this king? Cyrus surrounded the whole place. He's trying to get in. He cannot get in. So one day at night time, one of the guards is looking from the wall down. He's looking down and his helmet fell. Opa! He has to go get it. So he comes down, opens a secret door. He comes out, grabs the helmet, close the door. He goes back up. They see it. Cyrus's soldiers saw it. So he moved all his soldiers in one end, and he had the special forces in one end. And then he attacked that spot. So when Jesus told Church of Sardis, actually that's Church of Sardis is a denomination church. It represents 7 churches. Each one represents a type of church today. So Sardis is the denomination church. So Cyrus was able to enter from the secret door, and they took over the city. It's not just happened once, twice. The second time, Persian king was trying to come in, and they couldn't. What happened, they noticed there's a certain area, big vouchers were gathering and eating food all the time. Somebody is feeding them food. So what's the thing about it? And then they saw they're throwing bodies. Anybody dies, that's an area where they dump. And then the birds are eating flesh. So they thought, who's going to stand there and guard in that flesh, the most disgusting place, the flesh, the rotten place, the birds, the vultures? Who's going to be there? That's where they attacked in. That's where they came to the city, and then they took over. So these are the two types. You think you are safe, but you're not. Hold fast and repent. You're not going to know the hour that I will come. You will not know the hour. Now Christ, he told us the day. He said, I'm going to come in the last day. In John 6, how many times? The last day, the last day, the last day. So how many times he mentioned? So we know that. But the hour, it's for specific church, specific type of church, Sardis, that he mentioned, that you're not going to go know the hour. I'm going to come like a thief. He didn't say to the all 7 churches. He didn't declare everybody is going to be like a thief. No. Specific church, Sardis. Why? We go back to Genesis 11, where they want to build their own name. It says, Genesis 11, let's have stone on stone and put some mortar in there and build a tower. And let's go to the tower. Let's go to heaven without God. We don't need you, God. We can just get a tower and go there. We can make it as high as possible. We can go to the second heaven. And then, verse after that, it says, let us make name to ourselves. They don't need Christ's name. They don't need God's name. They're going to make name to ourselves. That's exactly what the church, pretty much, most of the churches are doing. They're building name to themselves. What did God do? Babylon, Church of Babylon. Basically, the languages were all separated. Each denomination preaches something different. They have their own way. They're building their own kingdom. They're not building God's kingdom. It's all became about money, entertainment. And it's sad to say, they don't spend time to scripture. It's simple. In a click of a button, I can get the information. It's there. But there's a war against the truth, not to bring the truth out. So for the Church of Sardis, those were the main words. Be ministering spirit sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation. That's the mission Sardis must be. But they're not. They're not preaching inheritance. They're preaching, I don't know what they're preaching. So it's sad. It's sad to see that. But one of the most important point I want you to see when you're talking about inheritance, I'm going to mention this point, and then I'm going to, as I promised at the end of this sermon, I'm going to mention the great I am of all time. Right before I do that, hang around. Now, I mentioned what way we're going to go. We're going to jump into the plane. We're going to jump into the car. We're going to just get into the chariot. We're going to go check our inheritance. Let's go. Which way? Where to go? What's the way? Do you know that? That's the point. Which way you going to go? You're going to go from east to west. You're going to go from the middle. You want to go from south to north. You're going to go through the middle. You want to go from northeast. You want to go through the middle. Anywhere you're going to go to the middle. The one in the middle in the last episode, I don't know if you remember, is the one of the most important thing. Has to be fully man and fully God. If the center one in the middle, that's the way. There's only one way. If you're in the east, you're going to go west, you're going to go in the middle. That's the only way. You're in the west, you're going to go east, you're going to go in the middle. That's the only way. There's no way there's other way. That's the way. From north south, that's the only way. One way to go in the middle. The one he is heir for all things. From the south to north, there's only one way. Which way you're going to go? There's no 10 ways. That's the one of the most truth that even the highest ministers I've seen on television, on Larry King. I don't want to mention names. There's many ways. It's not just God, man, Christ. There's many ways you can go. That's absolute false. These are thieves stealing your inheritance. We did lose in the beginning our inheritance. We're going to take it back. But which way are we going to go? With the Christ way. Now here I am. I'm going to close it with this. The greatest I am of all time. Greatest I am of all time. We're talking about inheritance, right? Now, Zacharias 44:28. Zacharias or Ezekiel. Forgive me with that. Either Zacharias or Ezekiel. I think it's Ezekiel. Zacharias has, I'm not sure. I'm sorry for that. 28. It says, God says, I am their inheritance. I am their possession. They are not allowed to have any other inheritance, any other possession by me. I am their inheritance. I am their possession. The Lord himself, he is our inheritance. Romans 2. Do not conform to the world. Transform into Christ. Christ is our inheritance. He is the light. He is the evening. He is the morning, our inheritance. He is the firmament. He is the waters. He is the one who holds the waters. He is our food. He is our drink. He is our seed. He is our fruits. He is the one who is holding everything. He is Yahweh. He is everything. He is our inheritance. We are inheriting him. Greatest I am of all time. God said, I am their inheritance. I am their possession. Go for it. It's yours. Claim it. One way. No many ways to claim Christ. Get one with Yahweh, with Christ. The one who walked on the water. Claim your inheritance. Don't get deceived. Not everything that you hear, it's right. Check it out. Do some homework. You do when you get physical inheritance. You do. Do the same with your spiritual inheritance. Genesis 1 is all about our physical inheritance. Genesis 2 is all about spiritual inheritance. I'm going to come to that in another episode. But claim your inheritance. Whatever I read, do your homework, whatever you read. It's yours. Claim it. Take it. Fight for it. There's a war against it. There's a war to deceive you, to take away your inheritance. Say no. That's the end of it. Claim it. One way, Christ way. Claim your inheritance. Let it be blessing. Blessing of all time. That's Him Himself. Claiming that He is your inheritance, brothers and sisters. He is your possession. He is. He is. He is. Nothing else. You deserve it. You are created in His image and His likeness. Yes, we lost it because of Adam. We became in a covenant of death. You deserve it. Go fight for it. Sharpen the sword of your inheritance. Go for it. Claim it. It's yours. Because of Christ, what He did. It's a blessing of all time. Don't lose it. Fight for it. Let this be a blessing. Let this be enlightenment. And I'm blessed to receive, to do the work of this inheritance. And I hope I delivered the message. I hope I touched your important part of your mind. So you look for it. You'll wake up. Don't let them steal your inheritance. It's a big one. It's more than you can ever imagine. So go for it. Fight for it. Sharpen your sword. Claim it. It's yours. It's a blessing. It's a grace. We don't deserve it. But it's given to you. It's free. Go claim it. God bless you all. And grace be with you. Always walk with grace. Blessings of the Lord, inheritance of the all He did. Let it fall on His children, on us. Okay, claim it, and God bless. And I see you in the next episode.